Today's topic is hacking user access, an hour of critical thinking on managing initial and ongoing access to network and data. Let's assume Greenfield. How would you approach user access?
Start with the notion of all authentication should be leveraging something modern, should be federated, so that user access and entity access, for that matter, we would start with federation.
When we thought about actually making improvements to our identity program, we wanted to ensure that we had a really strong identity provider that was inclusive of all identities of people, but also really strong asset repositories.
This one comes in from Dustin Sachs. He asks, we have heard of recent issues with MFA and man-in-the-middle attacks. What do you see as the future of user access?
In addition to the MFA, we want to make sure that we're consistently and constantly authorizing. We want to continuously verify your behavior and your access to understand if you're doing something anomalous.
I love this question that just came in from Paul Lanzi. He works for Remediate, and he asks, will, quote, bring your own identity to the enterprise continue to be 5 years away forever?
I think just due to the sociological and demographic changes that are happening in our society, people don't trust what would be the ultimate source of that identity is, which is coming from the government, right? From the time you're born.
You already see elements of bring your own identity through social media platforms. You see that in, I would say, the non-enterprise space. I think from the enterprise perspective, it's going to come down to trust. I think it's a long way out from enterprise adoption. I think you'll see it in our daily lives regularly.
How much and how do you automate identity management for onboarding and offboarding? That's from Ian Pointer.
Our identity governance systems are tied directly to our HR systems. And upon that last day work, we set in motion the automation to actually remove access from associates. When you join the organization, you get a certain set of access rights. And we also do that directly through our identity governance platform.
Phil Wolf asked this question. What is the MFA for things? And then he adds to this, how do you architect so things can trust other things where the user is another system?
We don't expect IoT devices to manage secrets very well. Something that we've done quite often for things like IoT devices or things that we can't directly authenticate to add a layer is looking at things like TLS fingerprints.
Because implementing things like MFA on IoT devices is a challenge. You want to make sure that you have a really clear understanding of what exactly you're expecting from that device to come into your back office and specifically where from.
We are now playing the Department of Yes. Use TikTok on Huawei MFA to authenticate everything.
We would send this request directly through our normal procedures, right? If there's some sort of really large return that outweighs the associated risk, then we'd table that and talk about it.
In-app purchases. You pay 99 cents to avoid the MFA challenge. Why do you want to actually deploy that?
When you do an in-app purchase to avoid the challenge, we have a lot of metadata in which we can identify you. There's a Face ID that's probably set up for you to actually go ahead and spend that money off your credit card.
We're going to move right now into our What's Worse game. You were either automating all user access with artificial intelligence that decides who works for you, or you delegate identity verification to telecoms and let users reset passwords in their local AT&T branch. Which one is worse?
I'd say probably the first one. There's some things that you could do in partnership with the telecom branch that you almost look at them as a service for identity verification, and I would work with them to get a line on what that actually looks like.
Adversarial machine learning, AIs can be fooled. They were trained by people, so they have biases. So I would probably say the AI one. SMS messages on most mobile networks are actually unencrypted. Any kind of SMS for any kind of access to any system where it's important or it's confidential data, it's an extremely bad idea.
Start thinking of your asset repository and CMDB as part of identity. Those things really need to be really robust if you eventually want to get from creating less trust to zero trust.
Identity governance means something different to McDonald's, for example, than it may mean to a public safety organization who has, police on a patrol. We have to look at what are the components from the systems of systems that make sense to develop better tie-ins and give us better visibility.
Password manager, SSO, what are aspects of user access that is benefiting the business that we should be aware of and that we should be doubling down on?
One thing that I would call out is risk or contextual MFA. While we're doing risk analysis for someone accessing an application that is not the company's crown jewels, In some cases, we are doing MFA associated with that, but we don't make them actually submit their second factor all the time if certain things are true, and that comes down to context.
This is asked by Kevin Hackinson. Most people only have one phone with MFA app or phone number or one YubiKey. How many extras do you need?
I would say it's acceptable to have a second and third backup. I think it becomes more challenging when you rely on one piece of hardware, like the phone, and then the phone is lost. You need to have solid procedures to support associates in either getting them devices quickly or having another one.
Their laptop, phone, everything's been stolen. So you call up, their manager, you call up other people in their team, right? So think of this as the human version of a voice print, authentication.
Consider asset, consider CMDB, consider best practice things that are in IT that you expect from your IT team, and create a very close relationship and collaboration with them. Everything comes down to our ability to influence people who don't directly work for us. And it's really about relationships.
Consider identity firewalls, break and inspect, to harden the authentication authorization stack to the actual applications themselves. And so as kind of a best practice, consider implementing access proxies in front of all your applications internally or externally.